The next step is to get a feel for your woodland to determine what resources you have. Species composition, tree height, diameter, age and density, and general forest health are important pieces of information to gather on your trees. But equally important is the information regarding sites for wildlife breeding, nesting, food, and cover. In addition to the biological description of your property, a physical description is also in order. Do you have variable terrain with narrow valleys and ridgetops with steep slopes? Do you have a free-flowing stream or farm ponds? Who are your neighbors, and what is the relation of their woodlands, if any, to your woodlands? These physical attributes could be just as important as knowing what kinds of trees and animals you have in shaping your management decisions. The smartest thing you can do before you begin describing what you have is to assemble as much information as you can on your property, and you'll be amazed at how much information exists. County plat maps, topographic maps, aerial photos, infrared images, and soil maps are the main sources of information that will be a big help. Let's start with the county plat map, or books as they are more commonly called. Plat books show several things, but the main piece of information they provide is who owns what acre of ground, at least at the time the information was updated. These books are usually updated and published every 5 years. To avoid making the map too busy, adjoining tracts of land with the same ownership will list the owner's name in one parcel and connect the tracts together with a join line. Other features on these maps, such as towns, roads, and railroads, serve as commonly recognizable land features to help you locate your property. A unique feature of these maps is a systematic arrangement of numbered squares that appear superimposed over the named parcels of ground. This system is how your property is legally described. Each numbered square is called a section, and it contains 640 acres. Historically, the most common subunit was the 40-acre tract, or multiples thereof. If you notice, most county roads are built around these 40-acre blocks. However, as a result of increased fragmentation of the landscape, it is not uncommon to find parcels as small as 10 acres, and around the state's urban fringes, even smaller tracts. 36 sections make up what is called a township. These townships themselves are arranged in a grid-like fashion across the state and given a north-south reference appropriately called township, and an east-west reference called a range. This section, township, range description will assist you in finding your property not only in county plat books, but also serve as a reference point on other commonly used maps. Aerial photographs are the best way to get a bird's eye view of your woodland. These are high-resolution, black and white photos that are usually taken during the fall, winter, or early spring when the leaves are off the trees, so one can clearly see the terrain. Some of the newer photos are infrared shots that delineate water bodies, differences in vegetation, and in some cases weakened and dying trees. These overhead views are especially helpful in seeing the big picture. The next commonly used reference map is the topographic map, and it is used to describe terrain or ground features by means of symbols. There are several types of symbols, often printed in color codes for quick reference. Items in black are cultural features: roads, bridges, railroads, power lines, and buildings. Blue shows water. Woodland areas are printed in green. Contours of hills and valleys are indicated by brown lines. Every point on one line has the same elevation. Follow a heavy brown line on the map and you will find a number, for instance 1200. Everything on that line lies 1200 feet above sea level. The contour interval of height between lines is stated on the map. Usually it is 20 feet. Where lines are far apart, the ground slopes gently. Where they are close together, the hill is steep. Where lines are crowded, they indicate a cliff. The top of a prominent hill may be indicated by a number, the altitude of the crest. The scales at the bottom of the map afford several means of measuring distances. Soil maps reveal many things: how easily water, air, and roots can move through the soil, how much water a soil can hold for use by plants. Soil texture is measured by percentages of sand, silt, and clay material, how steep the ground is, and the size of rock fragments on the surface, and the percentage of fragments below ground. But probably the most important feature to the woodland owner is the woodland suitability evaluation. Woodland suitability groups indicate the relative potential productivity of soils to grow selected species of trees. These maps were created using information from extensive field sampling, aerial photos, and topographic maps. They are usually overlain on an aerial photo and identified by a code that is cross-referenced to the above information. As we describe the various types of information available, you are probably asking, where or how do I obtain this information? Not only do these maps and photos exist in either print or electronic form, but in many cases they are available from several sources. A listing of these is available through your meeting facilitator. It's important to note that the contact information we provide is in no way an endorsement of any one particular public or private vendor. Further, our contact list is by no means the final word, particularly when it comes to the internet, where new vendors seem to come online every day. Speaking of the internet, a final word of caution. While very user-friendly, many of the websites require high-speed internet access. If you're still using a dial-up service, even with a web accelerator, you will experience difficulty accessing and downloading information.